There comes a moment in life when the outer noise becomes too loud, and yet, something deeper calls you from within. Maybe it happens in silence, during a sleepless night, or in that instant when time seems to stop and a strange sense of meaning fills the air. That's not coincidence, it's communication. Your higher self is speaking. But what exactly is the higher self? It's not a distant entity or a mystical force separated from you. It is you, the most expanded, wise, and luminous version of your consciousness. It's the part of you that exists beyond fear, beyond ego, beyond conditioning. Like the deep ocean beneath turbulent waves, it remains calm, patient, and infinitely aware. Carl Jung called it the self, the center and the totality of the psyche. It's the archetype of wholeness that guides your process of individuation, your journey toward becoming who you truly are. Every dream, every symbol, every emotion you experience is part of this great dialogue between the conscious mind and the deeper layers of your soul. Imagine a radio constantly transmitting wisdom, but you can only hear static because your frequency is misaligned. That's how most of us live. We're tuned into the noise of social pressure, fear, and mental chatter, while the clear signal of the higher self plays just one dial away. When you begin to adjust your inner frequency, through silence, reflection, or creativity, that signal grows stronger. Have you ever noticed that life sometimes repeats the same lesson until you finally pay attention? That's one of the higher self's favorite languages, patterns. It doesn't judge or punish. It teaches through repetition. The same kind of relationship, the same emotional triggers, the same disappointments, all appear not to trap you, but to awaken you. Your higher self doesn't use words. It speaks in symbols. A sudden dream that feels too vivid to ignore. A song that plays exactly when you need its message. A random encounter that changes your direction. These are synchronicities, the secret threads that weave the visible and invisible together. If you've ever felt an inner pull towards something without knowing why, trust that. That's your higher self guiding you toward your next step. Sometimes it leads you toward light, and sometimes into the shadow, because both are sacred. Jung reminded us that wholeness is not about perfection, but about embracing all parts of ourselves, even those we fear or deny. So, how do we listen? The first step is awareness. Slow down. Breathe. Notice what feels alive inside you right now. When you stop trying to control everything, you create space for something deeper to emerge. The higher self doesn't shout. It waits. It doesn't rush. It invites. As you continue this video, open your heart. Don't just listen with your mind. Feel with your body, your intuition, your energy. The transformation begins not when you hear these words, but when you start recognizing that the voice you're seeking is already within you. If this message resonates, take a moment to like this video and subscribe. It's a small act, but it helps this community of seekers grow. People like you who are walking the same path of awakening, courage, and self-discovery. When you begin to listen to your higher self, life starts to rearrange itself in ways you couldn't plan with logic. The synchronicities become too precise to ignore. The coincidences start feeling like choreography. And you realize that your outer reality is a mirror, a perfect reflection of your inner state. Think about it. How many times have you met someone who reflects exactly what you've been avoiding in yourself? Maybe that controlling boss mirrors your need for control. That emotionally unavailable partner mirrors your own fear of intimacy. The higher self uses relationships as classrooms, each one a living archetype designed to bring the unconscious into light. In Jungian terms, this is the process of individuation. It's not about becoming perfect, but about becoming whole. It's the sacred dance between light and shadow, conscious and unconscious, ego and self. And it's not easy. The ego resists because it fears losing control. But every challenge, every conflict, is a disguised invitation to wake up. Let's use a simple metaphor. Imagine your life as a river. When you flow with your higher self, the current carries you naturally. Even when the waters get rough, you feel guided. But when you resist, when you try to control where the river goes, you create turbulence. You exhaust yourself paddling upstream. Listening to your higher self means trusting the current, even when you can't see what's around the bend. There's a subtle language that your higher self uses daily. Emotions. Every emotion is energy in motion, a vibration that carries information. Anxiety tells you where you're resisting truth. Anger shows where your boundaries are crossed. Sadness cleanses what you're ready to release. And joy? Joy is the frequency of alignment, the sign that you're in tune with your soul's rhythm. We've been taught to suppress emotions, to label some as good and others as bad. But the higher self doesn't divide them. It integrates them. When you feel deeply, you receive guidance. When you numb yourself, the message gets lost. That's why true spirituality isn't about rising above your humanity, but about inhabiting it completely, with awareness, compassion, and courage. You might wonder, if my higher self is guiding me, why do I still feel lost sometimes? Because confusion is part of the process. The fog often comes right before clarity. Just as dawn always follows the darkest hour, uncertainty is the prelude to awakening. The higher self hides the path until you're ready to see it. Not as punishment, but as protection. Sometimes guidance arrives as silence. You ask for a sign, but nothing comes. That silence is not absence. It's incubation. Like a seed beneath the soil, transformation happens invisibly. Your task isn't to force growth, but to trust it. Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." The higher self is that inner light that wants to make you aware of your own patterns, so that fate becomes choice. Every time you act from awareness instead of habit, you're aligning with that higher intelligence. In daily life, the dialogue with your higher self happens in small, ordinary moments. When you pause before reacting, when you follow a creative impulse, when you honor rest instead of overworking, you're listening. These micro-decisions are sacred. They reshape your destiny from the inside out. The world around you is not separate from this process. The collective energy, the economy, the social climate, even the technology you use, all mirror humanity's shared unconscious. The more individuals align with their higher selves, the more harmony reflects outwardly. Healing yourself contributes to the healing of the collective. So here's a simple practice. Before sleeping, ask your higher self a question, something that truly matters to your heart. Then release it. Don't overthink. The answer might come through a dream, a symbol, or a sudden insight during the day. The language of the soul is poetic, not linear. And when you begin to trust this dialogue, fear starts losing its grip. You realize that intuition isn't a mystical gift. It's your natural compass. Every person has access to it. We've simply forgotten how to listen. The next time life presents you with uncertainty, instead of asking, "What should I do?" try asking, "What feels aligned?" Feel the resonance in your body. That subtle sense of yes or no that doesn't come from logic but from knowing. That's your higher self in real time, guiding you through vibration, not explanation. Take a deep breath right now. Feel your heart. Behind every doubt, every worry, every question, there is an intelligence that already knows. You don't have to find it. You just have to remember it. The final step in listening to your higher self is embodiment, turning insight into action. Awareness without embodiment is like a light that never leaves the lamp. True transformation happens when wisdom becomes movement, when understanding becomes choice. Every morning, life offers you a new canvas. How you show up, your thoughts, your energy, your focus, determines the vibration you broadcast to the universe. The higher self doesn't just whisper in meditation, it speaks through your daily decisions. When you act with integrity, when you follow what feels truthful rather than what's convenient, you align with that higher current of consciousness. Here's a practical path to embody your higher self. Step 1. Create space for silence. In a world addicted to noise, silence is revolutionary. Spend a few minutes each day in stillness, not to empty your mind, but to listen beneath it. Thoughts will come, emotions will surface, and that's part of the cleansing. As you practice presence, your intuitive channel clears. Step 2. Observe your triggers. Every time you're emotionally activated, by a person, a situation, a memory. You're being shown where your inner work lies. Instead of reacting, pause and ask, what part of me is speaking right now? The wounded self or the higher self? This question shifts you from automatic reaction to conscious response. Step 3. Honor your energy. Notice what drains you and what nourishes you. Your higher self communicates through expansion and contraction. When something feels heavy or forced, it's often a signal to step back. When it feels light, inspired, and alive, that's your inner guidance saying, this way. Step 4. Follow synchronicity. Those coincidences that seem too perfect are cosmic breadcrumbs. They're the universe's way of affirming your alignment. When numbers, symbols, or recurring themes show up, pause, reflect, ask your higher self what it's trying to reveal. Step 5. Integrate your shadow. You can't ascend without descending. Every time you face a part of yourself you once rejected, anger, shame, jealousy, fear, you reclaim lost energy. The higher self doesn't eliminate the shadow, it transforms it through awareness. As Jung said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Embodiment means you no longer chase signs, you become one. Your presence itself becomes guidance. People feel peace around you not because you have all the answers, but because you've learned to live from the center of your being. Sometimes, living from your higher self means making difficult choices, ending relationships that no longer resonate, changing paths, saying no when it's uncomfortable. But every no, rooted in truth, becomes a sacred yes to your soul. Remember, your higher self is not something to reach someday. It's what's observing this moment right now. That awareness behind your thoughts, the calm within your chest, that's it. You don't need to become it, you need to remember you already are it. Let's visualize this. Imagine standing before a vast mirror. The reflection you see is your personality, the stories, the fears, the roles you play. But behind the mirror, there's light, pure consciousness shining through. Every crack, every imperfection in the glass allows more light to pass. Your healing, your self-inquiry, your willingness to feel. These are the cracks through which your higher self reveals itself. And when you begin to live this way, everything changes. You attract experiences that mirror your inner growth. You release people and situations that vibrate at a different frequency. You stop chasing meaning because meaning begins to flow through you. Life becomes not a series of problems to solve, but mysteries to live. Here is the paradox. The higher self isn't trying to change you. It is trying to reveal you. The layers you shed along the way, fear, guilt, self-doubt, aren't who you are. They're who you thought you had to be. So ask yourself, what am I ready to release today? What truth have I been avoiding? What would my higher self choose in this moment? Sit with those questions. Don't rush to answer them. Let them breathe through you. The answers will come in their own rhythm, carried by the quiet certainty of your inner knowing. Before we close, take a moment to honor yourself. You've listened, reflected, and opened to something deeper. That alone is transformation. Most people spend their entire lives disconnected from their inner wisdom, but you've remembered that the universe lives within you. If this message has resonated with your journey, I invite you to share it. Leave a comment about how your higher self has guided you, through intuition, through dreams, through the mysterious coincidences that make you pause and smile. Subscribe for more reflections on spirituality, energy, and deep psychology. Because each video is a mirror for your evolution, a reminder that your soul is always speaking, always guiding, always calling you home. Your higher self is not above you. It is you, waiting patiently behind every thought, every breath, every heartbeat. And now, it's your turn to speak back, not with words, but with the way you choose to live.